Hello YouTube dwellers, they call me Mr. Fix-It and welcome to my channel. Today I'm working on the Suzuki GS850. In previous videos, link in the corner, I got this engine unstuck, got it running, took it down the road, and now the real work begins. Stay tuned.
I was sitting out there in the shed one evening, not doing too much of nothing, just kind of staring at the wall.
So I think I'm going to fit this fairing onto this bike that was never intended to have a fairing. Now the belly pan down here, I'm going to have to modify this exhaust system to fit this belly pan. So you can see here I have 4 pipes going into 2 pipes, and on your crotch rockets you're going to have 4 pipes going into 1 pipe, and that gives plenty of room for this belly pan. So I think I'm going to have to do a 4-in-1 on this. No, I'm not going to buy a $1,000 4-in-1 exhaust system for this bike. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take this exhaust and turn it into a 4-in-1, buy an exhaust adapter, build a collector, and maybe a cheap eBay silencer or muffler will go on the end. Yes, it's going to be loud. So I think in order to fit this, this is the next step I'm going to have to do, because the rest of this fairing is basically going to be built off of where the belly pan sits. So I need to get the belly pan into place and then get this part up onto here, because it's got to connect somewhere in here and everything's got to fit. So onto the exhaust. Alright, I'm just going to start by taking the pegs off, which has a bolt that holds the exhaust on. So these are 14mm. Okay, we got these 8 bolts here to hold the header on. Hopefully these cooperate. Last thing you want to do is break one of these off in the head. These may not cooperate. Oh boy, this is looking bad. Looking bad, guys. Okay, these exhaust bolts are not cooperating, and the last thing I want to do is break off a bolt in the head, because that's a lot of screwing around. So I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to fire the bike up, and I'm going to try to get the cylinder head nice and hot, and then we'll try to take the bolts out, see if that helps. Now that these exhaust pipes are scalding hot, let's see if we can get the bolts out. Oh, this sucks. So we'll come back to that and let's try the next one. Oh man. And this is the part about working on old bikes that have sat outside. I do not want to drill out all these bolts. That would be a nightmare. Ouch! Wow, that's hot. Yeah, it's pretty hot. I'm gonna go get some gloves on. I'm just working it back and forth. Penetrating lube is not gonna help you here. Well, I'm striking out here, guys. Oh, well, that one's gonna come right out. That's how it should come out. 2 down, 6 more to go. Good deal. 3 down. Oh man. Alright, there's 5. I can get it out of my socket without burning myself. Back over to this one. Oh, that one just broke. You're only one broken bolt away from having a headache, for sure. So this is where a job that should have took you like 5 minutes turns into hours. I still got one more bolt stuck in there. It doesn't want to turn. I think I'm going to get out the torch, try to heat it up. So I wasn't planning on pulling this engine off right now. I was kind of hoping to wait till later. You know, when I was doing gaskets and cleaning the engine up. But it looks like I'm going to have to go ahead and take the engine off now. I got to drill them bolts out, and I need to have the bolts in place to build the exhaust. So I guess my plans have changed to taking the engine off of the bike now. Not looking good. Okay, let's take the engine off. So the exhaust should be ready to come off, so let me pull that off. Just gotta get these. It's caught in the kickstand. This pipe is broken anyway. Right there. Pull these off. Make sure these wires don't get caught up on anything. Alright, let's pull the carburetor off. Okay, got to disconnect the clutch cable. Okay, we got a couple wires on the engine to disconnect. Oh, the starter's not bolted down. Okay. Alright, now this starter wire, here's where you can break stuff. So I don't want you to break stuff. What I got here is a 10mm that I have ground very narrow. So I can slip it in and grab the bottom nut. Because if I just try to turn the top nut, it's going to twist the wire and it's going to break the internals of the starter. So we don't want to do that. So I'm going to take my modified 10mm, I'm going to slip it on the nut, and I'm going to hold that still while I loosen this nut. And I'll just stick the nut right back on there so I don't lose it. Okay, we got this wire here, which is going over into this bundle. So we got a yellow, a white with a blue stripe, and a white with a green stripe. And the colors on the other sides are the same, so just unplug these and you can put them right back where they came out of. Alright, got all the gear shift indicator wires right here. Got to get these undone. Got a ground wire back here. Actually, we can just disconnect that one from the battery. It's going straight to the battery. There's this, I think this is for the kickstand safety switch. Okay, there's the wires to the pulse coils that are going up here to the CDI box. Alright, got a drive shaft to deal with there. So I think I'm going to take this bracket out before I take this boot off and get in there to give me some room. So we got this long bolt goes all the way through. There's a 17mm nut on that side, 17mm bolt head on this side. I'm going to take the long bolt out. Let's see, maybe a little tap. Drop the washer off to make sure I get that. Got a couple of 12mm bolts here. Alright, there's a Phillips head screw for this clamp. If I can just peel this back here. It's got water pouring out of it. Alright, I'm trying to get as much light in there as I can, but I got this boot loose, and if you look close in there, there's bolts. 12mm bolts. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in gear, and then I'm going to take one bolt out at a time here. Alright, there's one. Looks like it's got Loctite on it. Take it out of gear, spin it around to the next bolt, and just take all 4 of these out. So if you twist it out too far with the wrench, you'll get the wrench stuck in there. That's fun. 2 more to go. Alright, there's all 4 of those out. There's several engine mounts. Let's start taking out all the engine mounts now. Alright, to get this other long bolt out, you have to take this foot peg out. Alright, there's a couple brackets like this on both sides of the engine. This bolt threads into the aluminum case. These 2 bolts thread into the frame. Now on the other side, these 2 bolts aren't there. This tab is actually just welded to the frame. So I'm going to take these 3 bolts out, and on the other side, there's just this 1 bolt. Alright, the bigger bolt is a 14. Actually, it's not threaded in the aluminum case. I forgot about this. There's a teardrop shaped nut. 2 smaller bolts are 12s. It's got a scissor jack here. I use this for various reasons around the shop. I'm going to slide it underneath there and pick the engine up to take the pressure off the rest of the bolts. Another long bolt here with 17mm. See if the pressure's off this bolt enough to push it through. Yep. In a pinch, use one of your other long bolts. Yeah, looks like just the one's missing. Glad I wasn't broke off. Same thing on this side. Alright, now the motor's loose. Now we just need to extract it out of there. Alright, let's see what we can break. Well guys, that was a struggle, and I don't recommend doing it that way. But at least the engine's out, sitting on the floor. Now I can address the exhaust bolts. It may look jank, but hopefully it's accurate enough to put these holes right in the center of these broken bolts. You know, they don't break off, you know, straight. It's real rough, so it's hard to get the drill bit to go right where you want it. Even if you center punch it, you may not get it center punched right in the center. So hopefully this drill guide will be able to put my hole exactly where I want it. You have to run a tap through some of these threads. Fix the threads in this hole and try to drill out that stud. So let's do this. These threads are M6 by 1.25. Not all in the center. I'm going to take my sander here and I'm going to sand the top of that stud flat so that I got a nice surface to drill into. I'm going to try my best to put this center punch right in the center of this stud. That is important. If you tap it once and it's not quite in the center, you can move your punch mark around a little bit. Just by angling your punch over and moving that center. Got my 1/8 drill bit. See if we can drill this straight down. I'm gonna go sharpen my drill bit. I think we're at the bottom of the bolt. I'm gonna step up the drill bit size, 7/32. I'm going to step up the drill size again. This is a 1/4 inch. This should remove the bolt completely. So let's drill this out now. Gotta make sure you go straight in. That's important. Now if you're lucky, you can just peel the threads out of here. We'll grab a pair of pliers. This bolt was really seized in there, man. There's no way that thing was going to unscrew out of there. No way possible. Alright, I think I need something skinnier than these needle nose. I'm going to grab my hemostats. No, these things aren't just for smoking weed. I'm really trying here. I only got like 3 or 4 threads left to get out of there, and I can just screw the bolt back in. Oops, dropped a piece, but there's the threads. I managed to pick those out, so I saved that hole. Now I won't have to use a helicoil in that hole, I hope. Run this tap down in there now. They're not the greatest looking threads ever, but they'll definitely hold the exhaust on. Alright, so this stud still has quite a bit sticking out of it, and I'm going to have to cut this off to drill it out. And you might be wondering, why don't I just grab that with a pair of vice grips or something and screw that out of there? Well, I tried. I got the torch out, I've heated this up, I don't know, 20-30 times, and it's just going to end up breaking off right here. It will not screw out of there no matter what I do. No penetrating lube or heat or anything is going to get that out. It has to be drilled. So I'm going to cut this off right there. It's deceiving getting this in the center because, you know, the threads are offset, you know, they're at an angle. So when you cut this off flat, it looks like the center's over here, but it's actually over this way a little bit because that one thread. So just kind of go by the total roundness of it, not just what you've cut off there. I don't know if I explained that well enough or not, but being right in the center is important. Alright, let's see if I can get lucky again here. Looks like my hole is slightly that way some. I'm going to try to bring it back this way. Just be careful here, because the last thing you want to do is break this drill bit off in there. Then you're going to have a bad time. Just as that drill bit starts to break through the bottom of this bolt, that's when you got to be careful that you don't break your bit, because it'll want to grab. You'll feel it change and want to start grabbing. That's when you got to back off pressure. Right there, starting to grab. I felt it, so I'm just going to back off pressure right through. And the process continues. I don't know if I can just... Got lucky on the last one and the thread was still poking out on me just a little bit. See if I can get this one started out of there. Alright, since this tap is 20 some years old and it's been in many holes, let's just put it that way, and it's all wore out, I went and bought a new one. And I got that hole threaded out. That one's good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and run this through the other holes just to make sure they're cleaned out and ready to go. I got one more hole over here. That was a debacle, so we'll get to that here in just a minute. I'm gonna run these in the rest of these holes, make sure they're good to go. Since I was trying to get fancy for YouTube and make some kind of drill guide so that I put that hole right in the right spot instead of just doing what I usually do and just freehand drilling it, this was a waste of time, and now I need to recover that hole. So I'm going to try a Dremel, see if I can't get that hole round in the right spot. So let's try this. Alright, well, I'm going to work at this for a little while. I'm going to try to get this hole fixed, and I'll come back when it's time to put the helicoil in. I'm trying to get the rest of the steel bolt out of this hole before I go any further. Alright, this helicoil kit requires a 21/64 drill bit. So I got my drill bit. Let's see if we can wreck this hole some more. We take the provided tap and we gotta get this in there straight. I'm gonna pull it out and clear the chips off of it. Usually put red Loctite on these, which I'm gonna do, but I'm afraid because of all the heat right here, the Loctite's not gonna do anything. I've not had these back out even without using Loctite, so I don't think that's gonna be an issue. But either way, I'm gonna put some Loctite on it. So I'm going to take a punch and break off that tang inside there. Just like that. Now that tang's still down that hole, so I'm going to try to blow it out of here with this. There it came out. Well, as you can see, that was a whole lot of effort to drill these 3 broken bolt holes out, but it had to be done. And this is where the project ends for a lot of people, and it doesn't need to be that way. I didn't use any special tools. Now, I wasn't planning on pulling this engine out of this bike just yet, but I do have some oil leaks to fix, and the engine's filthy, that needs to be cleaned. The kickstands need to be shortened, so there's plenty of work to do on this bike. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, and don't be afraid to fix it. Thanks for watching.